Okay, good vach. So we're on Kuf Tes Amud Beis, towards the end of the page. We were speaking about different remedies, and we're going to have a whole long discussion about snakes. Okay, snakes, you have to keep in mind, were quite prevalent in Bavel, in that region. We spoke yesterday about the water, uncovered water, that was considered dangerous because snakes could get into the water and they could leave some venom in the water and cause the person to be endangered. And so now we have a whole long discussion not about snakes impacting water, but actually people being attacked or even swallowing snakes. Okay, Haiman de Balachizia, a person who swallows a snake, Lochle Kishusa B'milcha, should be fed hops with salt, Vilarhati Tlasamili, and should run 3 miles. Okay, so this is one of the I think we did this yesterday, we'll do it again. But this is one of the many scenarios where we have these therapeutic suggestions which were prevalent in those times, and the Gemara is concerned about our health, and therefore they're, at least the rationalist way of approaching this is that they're sharing medicine and healing practices that were used in those times, but we don't have to take this, we should not take this in its literal sense, because we should use modern medicine. The meta point the Gemara is making is take care of yourself, be safe, be healthy. Okay. Rav Shimi bar Ashi chazilahu gavra devel achivya. Rav Shimi bar Ashi saw a person who swallowed a snake. Idme leka frasha. Rav Shimi bar Ashi wanted to ensure that the person would follow his instructions, so he appeared to him as a horseman, someone who was powerful. Ochle kshusam milcha, and he fed him hops with salt. Varhate kamei tlasamili, and made him run in front of him for 3 miles. Nafak mine gube gube, and the snake came out of him in pieces. Ikeda amrida, those who say Rav Shimi bar Ashi bala chivya. Rav Shimi bar Ashi swallowed a snake. Asa Eliyahu idme leka farasha. Eliyahu came and appeared to him as a horseman. Ochle kshusam milcha, he made him eat hops with salt. And made him run in front of him 3 miles. And again, the snake came out of him in pieces. Okay, fine. Haiman de tarke chivya, a person was bitten by a snake. Lesi ubra de chamra chivarsa, should obtain an embryo of a white donkey, and tear open the embryo, velosve ilave, and place the embryo on the bite, the snake bite. However, it's only effective if the donkey was not found to be a treifa. Treifa is an animal that has a life-threatening defect. So if the animal that's found, the embryo that's found, has a life-threatening defect, or the animal that is hosting the embryo, the mother is treifa, it's not going to work. Now we have a story. Hahu bar kashan from Badisa. There was an officer of Badisa de tarke chivya who was bitten by a snake. There were 13 white donkeys from Badisa. So you think, okay, it's all good. We're going to find at least one donkey that has an embryo that's not a treifa. However, Karino they tore all of them open, and all the donkeys were found to be treifos. No medicine. There was one donkey on the other side of Pumbedisa. Okay, so they start running to get that donkey to save the officer. By the time they got there, a lion ate the donkey. So something strange is going on over here, right? Abai said to them, Dilma chivya de Rabbanan Tarki, perhaps a snake of the rabbis bit him. In which case there's no cure. Person who breaches a fence will be bitten by a snake. What in the world is going on? So in the Pasuk of Hela says, a person who breaches a fence will be bitten by a snake. Chazal understand this to refer to a person who disobeys the words of the rabbis. The rabbis, their function is to create fences around the Torah, right? So muksa, for example, that is a rabbinic law, is a fence around some of the laws of Shabbos. So a person who breaches a fence, meaning they disregard the Rabbanan, they'll be bitten by a snake. So Abai says, something's up over here. The fact that no healing is working for him must be that he was bitten by a regular snake, but he was also bitten by this supernatural, this mystical, this supernatural punishment of sorts, and that's what must have happened. Amrulay, and they said to Abai, wow, how do you know? And Rabbi, yes, our teacher, when Rav died, Gaz Rav Yitzchak bar Bisna, he was the rabbi there, he made a decree, a person should not go to a wedding with myrtle, palm branches, and bells. And that was one of the ways they celebrated. They had this whole thing, they shake the palm branches, the myrtle, and bells. It was a whole ceremony, a joyous ceremony, and because Rav died, Rav was a big sage, they said it's inappropriate to do this in the period of time after he died. This officer went ahead and brought myrtle and palm branches to a wedding celebration with bells, and that's why a snake bit him and he died. Okay, a person around whom a snake wrapped itself. Okay, and hopefully I'll remind myself, tell you a story after that about that, but a snake wrapped itself around a person, linchos amaya. So you want to get the snake off you, go into the water. Take a basket over the head of the snake. Have you ever seen, the snake charmers, right? They always use these baskets. So take a basket over the head of the snake. And as soon as the snake gets in, and push it away from him. When the snake climbs onto the basket, throw the basket into the water, and then get out of the water and run. Okay, so now the snake is going to be stuck in the basket in the middle of the water. A person against whom a snake is mad. Let's say, a person stepped on a snake nest, and the snake is mad. If the person has a companion, go ride on your friend's back for 4 amos. What's that all about? What that's all about is that the snake is going to follow the scent of your feet. eat. Now, if you go on your friend's back, the scent is going to be diminished. The snake's on the floor, the scent is going to be diminished, and therefore you're okay. Vilo, if you don't have a friend to go on the back of, lishavar nigra, jump over a ditch of water. Vilo, liavar nara, go over across a river. Okay, basically by crossing over a river, the snake's not going to be able to cross over the river. Uvalelia at night, losve leforia arba chavisa, place your bed on 4 barrels. Okay, you're going to see there's like a whole alarm system, as we're going to see. Basically, elevate your bed. V'nigne bekochve, sleep under the stars. If you sleep in a house, it's going to climb up onto the ceiling and then jump down on you. Okay, v'lisrinu ba'arba kar de fourier, and Vilaite arba shinari, go get 4 cats, okay? Lisrinu ba'arba kar de fourier, and tie them to the legs of the bed, Vilaite shachafe, and then bring twigs. Vilishti hasam, leave the twigs around the bed. Dechishamakali, when the cats hear the sound, achlile, they will eat the snake. Okay? Worst case scenario, even if they don't eat the snake, we'll hear the cats. But whatever, the point is, this is like some primitive alarm system to ensure that the snake will not sneak up on you while you are sleeping. Hi Mandarai Basrei, person who's being pursued by a snake, lirhit bechilta, should run into sandy terrain. Another way of getting rid of the snake. Snakes can't move around in sandy terrain all that well. Hayitzga de chazia chivya, very bizarre, strange episode over here, a statement over here that if a woman was seen by a snake, velo yada and does not know whether or not, I don't mean, okay, meaning it's hard to understand, okay, so meaning does not know whether or not whether or not the snake is attracted to the woman, okay, she should remove her clothing, some like her scarf, whatever it is, and throw it in front of the snake. If it winds itself around the clothing, that means that it is, it is attracted to the person, velo, to the woman, and if not, lo, you don't have to worry, the woman doesn't have to worry, it has not set its mind on her. So let's say the snake did wrap itself around the clothing, what should the woman do? Says the Gemara, Tishamish Kameh. She should cohabit with her husband in front of the snake. You can amri those say kolshkin and takav leyitzra. The others who say no. On the contrary, it's the zar will be aroused even more so if you do that. El tishkol b'mimazia umitufra. Take some hair. So a woman should take some hair. Take some nails of her. Take her nails off. Bite some nails. V'shishteve and throw it in front of it. V'tema dishtana ana and say that I am a nida. So what's going on over here with the cohabiting in front of it? So the Chida explains that the way the Zohar understands the story of the Chet Adam Arishon, that whole episode in the Garden of Eden, is that the snake saw Adam and Chava cohabiting and had desired Chava. And so there are 2 ways of looking at this. One says that the woman should cohabit in front of the snake, and therefore the snake will remind itself of that story and say, whoa, I don't want to get in trouble again. And the other says, okay, but bottom line is sometimes, we make the same mistakes over and over again. The snake is going to find itself in the same situation. Who says it's going to overcome it just because it realized it made a mistake in the past? It might go ahead and do the same thing again. Okay, so even if it's not relevant to snakes, it's a relevant idea to us. Sometimes we can remind ourselves of, remember when I made the following following mistake, whatever, fill in the blank, X, Y, Z, whatever mistake I made, it caused all these terrible things. They'll, remind me not to do it. And sometimes on the contrary, we find ourselves stumbling in the same path over and over again. Okay, a woman who a snake entered into her body. Lifsa. Through lifsa, she should part her legs. She should sit on 2 barrels. She should bring fatty meat. And throw it on burning coals. She should bring a basket of cress and fragrant wine. Place them all there. She should mix the wine and cress together. She should take tongs in her hands. When the snake smells this aroma, is going to come out of her to go get the food. She should take the snake by its, immediately seize it with the tongs, throw it into the fire, because if she doesn't kill it, it will return to her. Okay, fine. These are all the stories of snakes. Some are hard to wrap our head around, no pun intended, but there is a story I remember hearing many years ago about an individual who was once getting a taxi ride in Israel, and the taxi driver, young Israeli guy, turns to the guy and says, it's a dati, you're observant. He said, yeah, I said, my friend's observant. He said, oh, very nice. He said, yeah, my friend I went to the army with, and after the army, we went on some trip to the Amazon, wherever it was, and as we were hiking, all of a sudden, my friend realizes that there is a boa constrictor wrapping itself around him, and they go very quickly, and all of a sudden he's losing it, his face turning blue, he's losing consciousness, and he doesn't know what to do, and finally he goes, Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, and the snake immediately unravels and goes away. And he said, my friend after that became completely observant. He has a family, lives in Yerushalayim, all that stuff. And so the rabbi turns to the guy in the taxi and says, what about you? You were there. Why did it change you? He said, me. Happened to my friend. Didn't happen to me. Okay, so it's just, so often we see, and especially this year, we've seen so many miraculous, amazing stories. Is it changing us? Or are we just like, oh, beautiful, nice story, scroll. Or are we allowing it to change us, even though it didn't necessarily happen to us? It's something that we've witnessed. Okay, let's go a little bit further. The Gemara tells us, the Mishnah told us that any foods that are used for healing, you are allowed to eat on Shabbos, as long as it's a food that people eat. In other words, like the example we keep on giving is like the Ricola candies. If people eat Ricola candies, I have a cough, okay, but since it's normal for people to eat, it's okay. The same is true for drinks. Now the Gemara is gonna, whenever the Mishnah says kol everything, it's usually coming to include something. So the Gemara asks, kol ochlin, when it says all the foods, let's do what's it coming to include? Let's do it chol shinayim, it comes to include the spleen. People eat spleen as a cure for one's teeth. And although people would do it for a cure, people also eat spleen. Keep in mind, back in the day, there's no, you shech that cow, every single thing in that cow is going to be eaten, right? They don't throw anything away. So granted, some people eat spleen for a toothache, but if all they were selling at the butcher shop was spleen, that's what you bought, that's what you ate. And the same thing with vetch, or some say it's a type of leek. Cretion, was a cure for one's intestines. Nonetheless, since people would also eat these things just regularly, therefore you're allowed to do so. Call a mashkin, all the liquids. Let's do mai, any beverage to include what? Let's do mates lafin bechomates to include capers which have been soaked together with vinegar. Again, people would eat that for medicinal purposes, but since people would also drink it normally, therefore you're allowed to do so on Shabbos. I'm going to read Rava mal lishtos mei reglaim Shabbos. Person allowed to drink urine on Shabbos. Now again, we saw earlier urine had a lot of therapeutic functions. Amarle, Tanena, we learned in the Brisa called Hamashkin Shoso, all beverages, urine is not called a beverage. It has to be a beverage. Again, just to review, the general principle is if a person is very ill, you could take any medication. If a person is mildly ill, you're not allowed to take medication. But what you could do is that if you are drinking something or eating something, which people also do who are healthy, then it's allowed. It's not seen as medicine. Okay, the Mishnah said though, chutz mimei dekam, except for the water of palm trees. Now there's a brisa which has a slightly different version. It says Tana, chutz mimei dekarim, except for the water that pierces. So there's two versions of what the one exception is. Is it the water of palm trees, which we'll define in a moment, or is it the water that pierces, which we'll also define in a moment? Man Tana mei dekarim, the one who states the water that pierces. What does it mean, the water that pierces? Shem dokrim es hamara. It's called pierces because it pierces the bile of gallbladder. That's what it's used for. Man Damar mei dekam, when it says water palm trees, shiyotu min shnei dikle, it comes out from two palm trees. My mei dekam, what's the water palm trees? Amar Rabba Bar Bruna, Tarte Tlai Ika Marava. There are two unique, two types of palm trees called talai in Israel. And there is a spring of water that comes from between them. The first cup that a person drinks loosens their waste in their stomach. The second one purges the bowels. In other words, it causes the person to release everything there. The third cup, you drink it, it goes out exactly the same way it came in. It's like you're completely empty at that point. And that's the liquid that we're talking about over here. That was only done for medicinal purposes. Therefore, you cannot drink this on Shabbos. I drank Babylonian Biro Maile Minayo, and it was even better than the water of palm trees. It had such an incredible effect. However, the Gemara, he qualifies Hudalo Ragil Be Arba Yamin as long as a person not become used to it over the last 40 days. In other words, a person normally drinks Babylonian beer, it's not going to be effective. But if you live in Baltimore and you go to Babylon, you go to Bavel and you drink this Babylonian beer, it's going to have its effect. Yosef Omer, we have yet to define what the water that pierces is. We know what it does. It pierces the bile of the gallbladder. But what is it made of? Zisom mitzri. It's made of it's called Egyptian zisom. How is it made? Tilsa sari, a third of barley. Vitilsa kortme, a third of saffron. Vitilsa milchan, a third of salt. Different version, Rapapa Amar, slightly different recipe. Tilsa chitai, a third of wheat. Vitilta kortme, a third of saffron. Visilta milchan, a third of salt. Visimanik sisane. Okay, there's a mnemonic to remind yourself of this. Vishas lehu bein divchala tarta. The proper time to drink this between Pesach and Shavuos, and this is the way it works. To commit. Marbile, a person who is constipated, it loosens them up. With your fee, kamile, and a person who is loose, it binds them up. So it has an effect either way. We will pick up, God willing, tomorrow. Have a great day, and a wonderful week.